That's recording. Let's do this thing.
Welcome to Star Trek Asterisk, the weekly podcast where we watch Star Trek and then talk about it. Today we watched The Undiscovered Country, and it was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was
The
better than
last,
last week.
yeah,
Anyway.
the last of the original series movies,
Yes.
and our season finale.
Yep.
I
That's
thought
true.
I think we did all right.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Pretty good.
So let's go through this movie. It starts off with all the higher ups in Starfleet, the Federation, really, saying that they need. Okay, so Praxis, that's the moon that blew up.
Yep.
Praxis blows up, and that was a very important moon for the Klingons. And now the Klingons pretty much need our help.
The Klingons are basically fucked.
Yeah, so they need to bring Chancellor Gorkon over to Earth to help him out.
Yeah.
Uh, then we would the idea is to sign a treaty. They're not at war anymore, so now we can help each other. So the person they put in charge to do this, to escort Gorkon over to Earth, is our dear good friend Captain James T. Kirk,
Hello.
and he doesn't like Klingons.
Mm-mm.
Never has.
Never will.
He can never forgive them for the death of his son. So he objects immediately. But Spock is like, dude, we have to do this. So they go and do it. Then what?
So they meet up with this Klingon chancellor, and he's got all these other guys with him, and they have a terrible dinner. They get really drunk, and the Klingons go back to their ship. They're like, okay, this is great. Let's do this some more tomorrow. So the Klingons go back to their ship, and then two guys in like full on suits and gravity boots beam over to the Klingon ship after we fire on them. Yeah, apparently,
Yeah.
apparently it looks like we let loose a couple of torpedoes
Mm-hmm.
and blew the Klingon ship to hell. And then two of our guys, beam over, and then kill the Chancellor.
Yeah.
So we're freaking the hell out because we didn't fire anything. In fact, all of our shit is accounted for.
Mm-hmm.
Like not only in inventory, but visually, we've seen it.
Yeah.
All of our stuff is there.
Visually accounted for, but there is the databanks say that we fired,
The databanks say that we fired.
but our stuff is all accounted for.
Right. So, okay, this is weird. Okay. So Kirk's like, all right, we've got to make these guys understand we didn't do this. So we surrender immediately, so they know that hey, whoa, something's amiss.
Mm-hmm.
And then we send over Kirk and Bones go over
Yeah.
to try to talk to them. And Spock's like, well, I gotta go. I got you into this mess. He's like, no, you stay here because you're gonna be the one to get us out.
Yes.
So they beam over, and Kirk and Bones are like, no, we're here to help. We didn't do this. We swear to you. We are just here to help. So they go, and the Chancellor's still clinging to life. He's got a pulse.
Mm-hmm.
So Bones tries to fix him up. He can't do it. He dies because Bones doesn't understand. He doesn't know Klingon physiology.
I mean, who would, looking at pink
right,
yogurt?
just looking at it, he doesn't know. Poor guy. So then General Chang is there. General Chang, this big creepy guy with the eye patch, who was being sort of an asshole when he was over on the Enterprise,
Yeah.
is now being an asshole here. He arrested them according to interstellar law because they assassinated the Chancellor. Well, what? So he goes and puts them in the brig. Well, they take them to have a trial, and they are defended by Worf's grandfather, who
Yes.
sounds and looks a lot like Worf, oddly enough,
It has the same name.
and has the same name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe that's who he was named after, his grandfather.
Yeah. Yeah, he was.
There you go. See.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the trial, and it's really just it's a shit show, and they get found guilty. But in the interest of peace, they're not sentenced to death. They are sentenced to go to this nice little asteroid where it is cold as fucking balls,
Hmm.
and they have to spend the rest of their natural life mining dilithium.
On Rurapente.
So they're screwed.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back up on the Enterprise, Spock's like, all right, we've got to figure out what's going on here because this isn't right, so we've got to find evidence.
Hmm.
So they start trying to figure out what's going on, and they eventually find the grab boots that were missing.
Yeah.
They also find a little speck of stuff that got tracked back from the Klingon ship.
Yeah, blood.
The blood, yeah,
Yeah.
was it blood?
I
Okay,
think so, yeah.
so there was blood that got tracked back. So they have this sample, and so they have this stuff, but they don't have the suits,
Hmm.
and they don't have any people.
Right.
So down in the mine, Kirk and Bones meet this changeling, who says that she'll help them escape, and she wants to help them escape because they seem all right, and everybody's going to try to kill them anyway because there's a bounty on their heads for their deaths. So okay, whatever. So they plot this whole thing, and they eventually make it outside. Um, and oh no, it's an ambush, and the guy in charge of the warden at the mine,
Yeah.
he comes out, and they're all surrounded. After the changeling changes into Kirk, and they have like a Kirk battle, so that's fun. There's like a
Yes.
Kirk off.
Kirk versus Kirk,
Kirk versus Kirk.
which has happened before.
That happened once.
Yeah.
And so that, whatever. But right before the warden tells them who all was behind this and explains the whole thing, Spock saves the day and beams them up, and Kirk's like, you couldn't have given us 5 more seconds? He goes, you want to go back? No. It's cold. So they resume their places on the ship, and they continue the investigation, and Scotty is sitting while he's mulling over his technical manuals. What does he find?
Oh, he knows this ship like the back of his hand.
He does.
So when he lifts his head and hears something amiss in the air vents, he immediately stands up, goes to the air vent, and finds the suits that they were looking for.
Because he's the miracle worker.
Because
This
he's
is
the
his
miracle
baby.
worker,
He
yes.
knows this fucking shit.
Yes. Yes. I'm not sure on what happened after that though.
Okay, so he finds the suits, and he runs to go tell the others. Well, they stumble upon two crewmates, the two crewmates that the suits belong to. Just as Scotty runs up with the suits, these two guys are dead. They're not vaporized. They were stun phased at a close range,
Right.
so they're still there. Sort of as a point, to make it a point that these guys were dead.
Yeah.
So great, now we found the assassins, but they're dead. So now we have to figure out what happened to them. Well, they get this brilliant idea. They call the court reporter down to sickbay
Yeah.
to get testimony from these two guys to make it sound like they survived. So they know that the person responsible will have to come and take care of business.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all dark, and who walks in, Steve?
I've been trying to find her name for the past 5 minutes. I can't remember what it is. Oh,
It's Valeris.
Valeris? I don't think that's her name.
Lieutenant Valeris.
Lieutenant Valeris? Oh. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, it's Lieutenant Valeris, and she is basically the new Klingon, or I'm sorry, the new Vulcan on board, to replace Savick, and she was really close with Spock. She was intended by Spock to take over his position after he left, because this is supposed to be the final mission for this crew aboard this ship. So when she walks in carrying the phaser, ready to kill uh, the guys who she was supposed to have killed, they immediately know that she's the traitor. And Spock is angry. Angry as anything. Obviously, he keeps it all bunched up because he's a Vulcan and he can't show any emotion. But you can tell when he slaps the phaser out of her hand that he's more angry than he's ever been, without being under the control of something. But anyway, so they take her back to the bridge, have sort of this trial type of thing, and try to interrogate her.
She won't talk.
She won't talk. She's quiet for the longest time, and then Spock is finally like, "Forget this. I'm gonna give you a mind meld." So his thoughts to her thoughts to his, and she spills the beans. Turns out Papa Cisco is one of the collaborators,
Yep.
and
And there's an assassin
General Chang.
and General Chang.
But she doesn't know where the new peace talks are supposed to be kept. So they have to find out by contacting Sulu. Sulu, he is in charge of the Excelsior, which is, the ship that he wanted to have after, the voyage home, when he was wondering what ship they were going to have. He finally got his wish, and he's the captain of the Excelsior. They contact Sulu, and Sulu's like, just us talking could get me into a lot of no.
No, Kirk tells
Says
him.
that. Kirk
He's
says
like,
that.
You talking to us could get you into a lot of trouble. And he goes, I'm sorry, you're breaking up. He goes, God, I love you.
Yes, exactly. But Sulu tells him, okay, the peace talks are going to be held on Kittimer. And we can get there, but it might be a stretch for us to get there fast enough. So they go on their way. The Enterprise goes on their way. The peace talks start, and
The assassin starts to set up shop.
yes, and Papa Cisco. I wish I remembered his real name, but Papa Cisco is sitting there sweating like a pig.
He's all concerned because, he wants this thing has to go off without a hitch.
Exactly, and hitches are made, but before any of that, Kirk comes along. He comes to Kittimer, looking for Chang in his cloaked ship that apparently fires now, while cloaked, and Chang contacts Kirk. He falls victim to the weakness of many villains, and lets his pride get the best of him, and contacts Kirk. But I guess it works out for him because he gets a shot off, and the Enterprise is damaged, and he's still cloaked. Kirk still can't find him. So they're trying to figure it out, and
So Uhura has this idea.
it's
She
Uhura.
goes, they're talking amongst themselves, and they're like, wait a second. Spock says, even when he's cloaked in impulse power, he still puts off emissions, which is essentially ionized gas. And Uhura goes, he's got to have a tailpipe. We've got all this specialized gas sensing equipment that we have on board anyway. So Spock says, hey, Bones, you want to come do surgery with me? And he goes, fascinating. So they go and they take a torpedo. They take a photon torpedo, and they add the sensing equipment to the guidance system on the torpedo.
And while they're doing that, the Excelsior arrives.
Excelsior shows up and, strays some of the fire away just long enough for them to be able to do this. And so they start to get into position, and they finish the modification to the torpedo. They fire the torpedo off. The torpedo seeks the ion emission, and bam, blows it up enough to where they can physically see it.
Yeah.
And so you've got the Enterprise on one side, you've got the Excelsior on the other side, you've got Chang in the middle, and we just start wailing on him. And they're like, "Okay, we gotta go." And then they beam down into the middle of the conference, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, what's going on here?"
Tackle the president.
And Kirk tackles the president, and the assassin misses, and they go up and they get the assassin, they shoot him, and huzzah! And then Cartwright, Papa Cisco,
Yeah.
Cartwright starts to run away, and then Sulu and a couple of his guys beam right in front of him and go, you're gonna stay right the hell here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're all like, hooray! The day is saved.
And the Klingon chancellor, who was Gorkon's daughter, she's like, "What's the meaning of this? What's going on?" And then Kirk makes his proud speech about, "Oh, this is about the future, and we're gonna get along together from now on.
Whether we like it or not."
And Worf will be on the Enterprise D, and everything will be grand. Woo! So that's it. And then they beam back aboard the Enterprise, and Space Doc calls in and says, "You got to come back. We got to decommission you."
And Spock says, he goes, "Captain, if I were human, I believe my response would be, go to hell. If I were human."
Yes. Yes.
And so Chekhov looks at Kirk and goes, "So where you want to go?" He goes, "Over there." And so they just go.
But he quotes Peter Pan. He says, "Second star to the right, straight on till morning." And that's the end of the original series movies.
Hooray, we're done.
This movie was there all through the entire movie. There was traces of Shakespeare going on because the Klingons
Mostly
loved,
Chang.
yeah, most Chang and Gorkon
Yeah, Gorkon was a fan, but
while he was alive.
yeah, for like the 10 minutes he was
Yeah.
alive.
It's interesting that the Klingons would like Shakespeare because Shakespeare is very, he goes for the revenge type of stories, and there's a lot of death in his stories, and
So that's
really
all.
deep
That's right up
themes.
their alley.
It's right up the Klingons' alley, and part of me wants to write a fan fiction where a Klingon with the augment virus goes back in time and becomes Shakespeare. Because that would just be awesome, but
Tan Shakespeare.
like maybe his name in Klingon actually translates to shaking a spear, because that makes sense with the Klingon. But yeah, I like how they put that together like that, and how they bring the Klingons up out of their barbaric state that they had been for so long. Well, for the last few movies anyway, and make them noble warriors at this point.
Yep.
By quoting Shakespeare while they're firing photons.
Yep.
What do you have to say about this movie? Did you like it?
It was better than 5, which was better than the motion picture. So I like this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
This is one of the movies that sticks out in my mind the most when I think about the next or the original series movies. I mean, obviously, I like the Voyage Home and Khan better, but I think the visuals in this are very
Well, they did
good.
try to put a lot of money into this to sort of make up for 5.
yeah, true.
In fact, I was reading the casting director, Mary Jo Slater. She made sure to get as many big names as she could in this movie,
Including her son.
including her son, who made a cameo appearance.
Yes, yeah. I was just reading. Janice Rand was supposed to be the one to wake Sulu up.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, but Christian was like, "No, man, I like Star Trek a lot. Can you put me in?
Mom, I want to be in a movie. Okay, son, you can be in a movie.
You can wake up Sulu."
and he walks in the room, and there he wakes up Sulu.
That was fun.
That was great.
Okay, let's get to. We had feedback today.
We did have feedback today, didn't we?
Hailing frequencies are open. Let's see. We got a message from Destinova. Here it is.
Yes, it's Desdenova 777, aka Richard, just asking a question for today's movie, Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country. Do you think it's pretty much got a failing in it because it's reliance upon the Cold War and everything? And I think maybe that doesn't carry over for a lot of people nowadays, even though there's the whole Klingon Federation thing. That maybe it's stuck in its time a bit too much. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, he brings up a good point.
He does, and this is. I know we were talking about this earlier today, but it's when the last time that we made peace with a country was after the Cold War, and so I don't think it rings the principles here ring true as loudly as they did at that time because they were fresh off of it.
This is 1991, and we'd been at peace with Russia for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Cold War is still fresh in America's mind, and I guess people still have some trust issues with Russians. You looking up the Cold War there?
Yeah.
I think though, if you're a part of the Star Trek fandom, though, you do get the sense that if you've been going on this journey from the original series on up to this point, you kind of know that the Klingons and the Federation, they don't like each other, and I mean, they're classic villains. So and then you get to the next generation, and you know that they have made peace because there's a Klingon on the bridge. So at some point they have to come together, and I think this chronicles that story pretty well.
Yeah.
And after this, the Khitomer Accords are mentioned throughout the rest of Star Trek as one of the greatest events in the galaxy. So yeah, it does rely on the Cold War a lot, and I think it does. I think people of the era might have appreciated it more, but I think Trekkies like it too for the same reason.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's the average viewer. I don't think would
True.
gain the same perspective on it
True.
as somebody like us or somebody living during that time, when the movie was released.
True. Yeah. Which is a good point. When you get to Star Trek 2009, you get Nero, who is obviously a huge terrorist, and he's blowing shit up everywhere.
Like he's he's this renegade guy.
Yeah.
Who just goes off and just starts. He goes berserk.
Yeah, yeah, and you can relate to that in today's culture. That's with the war on terror and everything, which was probably part of what made that movie so successful. Yeah. So thanks for saying the voicemail,
Yes, absolutely.
Distinova. That was great. Anyone else, if you want to give us questions about Star Trek, about us, about the podcast, anything, you can call us. Hailing frequencies are open.
At 513 asterisk. That's 513-278-7475.
You can call us day or night. No human will answer, but you can leave us a message, and we will answer it on air. Ish.
Whoa,
This.
we're on air.
Yeah. This is the last episode for the next 4 weeks. We will be returning in November. What is
November
it?
the 9th.
November 9th, which is a Friday.
That's a Friday. So mark your calendars. Star Trek Asterisk is moving to Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
Same bat time, same bat channel,
Different day.
different day, but same bat time. I had to think about that, but it does work there
Yeah.
on a technical level.
Yeah.
Yep, we're gonna take a. This is gonna be our off time
Hiatus.
hiatus. It's gonna be our break between seasons.
Yes. So that's it.
Yeah, I think so.
Prepare for the next generation in the next 4 weeks,
Yes.
and tell your friends.
Yes. We will be going back to the 3-episode format.
Yes.
At
We
least
will.
for the time being until we start mixing in Deep Space Nine episodes, and depending on how that goes, because it won't be like completely, like it won't be a homogenous mixture. We'll probably still just keep doing 3 episodes.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
We'll figure it out when that time comes.
It'll go back and forth and stuff, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, and until 4 weeks from now,
Well, 5 weeks from now, I think.
whichever it is.
Yes, 5 weeks from now.
Until 5 weeks from now, remember to help control the tribble population.
Have your tribble spayed or neutered.
Live long and prosper.
Goodbye, everybody.